Cassie and Marco decide they need to get out of harm's way, and the only real option is to morph fly. At this size, they are capable of seeing individual cells. The Helmacron hand moved through molasses. The cells of the fingers were like irregular bricks in a wall. But these bricks were bigger than we were. A lot bigger. Some were clearer, more translucent than others in bizarre light. Some I could see right into. They were like clear plastic trash bags stuffed with faintly pink jello. Suspended in the jello like so much fruit cocktail was all the cell structures. A big nucleus, only slightly darker than the protoplasm, mitochondria, vacuoles. I can't pronounce that word for crap. I think this book might have worked better as a graphic novel. A lot of its strength comes from its visuals. The landscape of the world as seen by someone a 16th of an inch tall, and this bit with Cassie and Marco morphed as flies would lend itself to some really trippy imagery, and it really would be neat to see it all in a visual medium. Of course, this getting adapted for the TV show was right out, but a graphic novel version might have been something. And it's not too late. When I was doing research for my Halloween Goosebumps review, I was surprised to discover that there were a number of graphic novel adaptations of various Goosebumps books. What with the series being reprinted as we speak, I think now would be a great time to give Animorphs a similar treatment. They wouldn't adapt all the books, of course, but some of the more visually interesting ones would be great. The two hide and fly morph for a while until the world explodes around them, the Helmacrons apparently having been hit by a Dracon beam. They manage to land somewhere and demorph, discovering that the battle has moved inside and that they are now standing on top of someone's head. Turns out that they're in the sharing building and the head in question belongs to Chapman. Visor 3 gloats over destroying the Helmacron ship, and that's when tiny Tobias shows up. How did you find us? The other Helmacron ship, the Planet Crusher. Rachel managed to smash it with a tire iron. Knocked it down. Jake grabbed it and clamped it into a vise in Cassie's barn. Because sometimes, it's just that simple. Then... yeah, he's got them in a vise and kept squeezing till they agreed to help us. We didn't trust them, I hope, Marco said. We're not idiots. They gave us hostages. Their captain and a bunch of other high-ranking... No! I yelled. You are idiots, Marco cried. All Helmacron leaders are dead. They don't trust anyone living, so all their leaders have to be dead. What? What? How the hell did the Helmacrons get away with that? Yeah, here's our highest ranking soldiers. Why aren't they moving? They're tired. What's going on exactly? A microscopic version of Weekend at Bernie's? It turns out Axe is outside with the morphing cube, which they brought so that the Helmacrons at the barn couldn't find because, they let them out of the vise? What? That's how I understand this, because Axe gets attacked from behind, and the second Helmacron ship ends up dragging the morphing cube inside with his tractor beam. Because they wanted to brag about it or something. So we end up with a three-way battle between the Animorphs, the Yeerks, and the Helmacrons. None of which we can see because the book is being narrated by one of the borrowers. People morph, people fight, people get shrunk, and it all results with the rest of the Animorphs and the Yeerks fighting a epic war on Axe's leg hairs. Meanwhile, Cassie, Marco, and Tobias cling to the top of the Helmacron ship. Cassie gets another bright idea, woo, 2 in a row, new record, and starts morphing magic talking whale. Of course, her whale morph is only a few inches long, but it's big enough to weigh down the Helmacron ship. Well, this is definitely it, Marco said. We have at last achieved maximum weirdness. We're the size of pimples, looking up at a bird-turned boy who looks huge because he's maybe a quarter of an inch tall, as we fly around on the back of a toy-sized spaceship, which we hope to crash by having Cassie turn into a whale the size of a baby mouse, so we can defeat a race of lunatics with brains the size of bacteria. That does it! The votes are in! The Oscar for absolute insanity goes to us! Everyone go home! We rule the lunatic world! Damn, I was hoping to get that Oscar. Axe grabs the falling ship, but a small army of Helmacrons exit and start marching up Axe's fingers. Well, the chips are down, and Cassie comes up with a third good idea. What's going on here? And tells Axe to morph Bird and fly to the gardens. They crawl up onto Axe, and we end up with a three-way fight, while Axe morphs and flies with an alien ship in his talons. Eventually, the Animorphs are forced to jump off, but thanks to both of their new size and them landing on a nice soft animal, they manage to survive. And the animal in question is an anteater. Now that's just convenient. Cassie theorizes that while all the morphs they acquired before shrinking were proportionate to their new size, any newly acquired morphs at this size would be its normal size. A bit of a reach, but it works, and the Animorphs morph into regular-sized anteaters. Cassie grabs a gaggle of Helmacrons with her tongue and threatens to eat them if they don't give up, but the Helmacrons are as stupid and stubborn as ever. Then Visor 3 drops this bombshell. "Sentimental Andalite fools," Visor 3 said. He had copied our trick. He had also morphed the anteater. "You can't kill a Helmacron. They're a fungible species. Kill one and its mind, if you can call it a mind, is absorbed into another. They never die. Even when they're dead, they're not dead." What the fuck kind of sense does that make? In a nutshell, fungible means completely interchangeable with another identical unit. That all Helmacrons are of equal value. It's actually a term of economics to describe how things like how two $10 bills are of identical value even though they are two separate items. The term doesn't really apply well to biology since reproduction causes genetic differences by rule. Otherwise, a species like the Helmacrons would not have evolved. I mean, ants. Frickin' ants aren't even fungible. But let's suspend our disbelief enough to assume that the Helmacrons are truly fungible. Then how the hell did they develop the concept of captains and ranks? If all Helmacrons are equal, then none of them can outperform any other. And it's only made worse by the idea that the Helmacrons absorb each other's minds, though I have no idea how that's supposed to work. If killing them is insufficient, then why the hell do they kill themselves, like killing the captain? They say they do it so that she won't make any mistakes, but her potential for mistakes still exists when her mind is being absorbed among all the Helmacrons. They aren't removing negative elements like they claim. All the Helmacrons accomplish in their acts of murder is a whittling of their own numbers, which even the most retarded of species should know is a bad idea when your goal is universal conquest. The only way the Helmacrons make any kind of sense as a species is if the Krayak designed them when he was rushed and hung over. Like he had a deadline to produce a new evil species in the universe, but kinda got wasted the night before doing shots and watching Fantastic Voyage, and then he wakes up the next morning and realizes he has 40 minutes to finish his new evil species, so he scribbles a few things on a legal pad. Yeah, that must be it. That or Visor 3 is lying. Anyway, so the Animorphs work out a deal. While the insane female Helmacrons are impossible to talk to, the weaker male slaves are much more helpful, and they're able to unshrink everyone. Of course, the Animorphs keep the advantage as the Yeerks are unshrunk, who are given safe passage because that makes no sense. Everyone gets unshrunk, the male Helmacrons take over the ship and fly off, and the book just kind of ends, though I'm left with many unanswered questions. For example, okay, so your morphs are proportional to your current size and are proportional to the size when you acquired them. Right? So, when you acquire an elephant at normal size, when you shrink, you morph an elephant that is proportional to your new shrunken size. You morphed a shrunk elephant. Now, assuming that the Animorphs acquired these anteaters while shrunk and are now normal size, does that mean that the anteaters increased in proportion? Because the only way this makes sense is if, when the Animorphs morph anteater, this happens. Post-book follow-up. You know, this book might have been more well received if it happened much earlier in the series. I'd say somewhere before number 16, The Warning. Around the time the Animorphs were breaking into military bases to steal Andalite toilets and running around talk show sets in llama morphs. Once you've gotten past the David trilogy, books as silly as this don't really feel welcome. Like we've passed the event horizon for fun, goofy Animorphs into dark, brooding, war is hell Animorphs. Just take out the whole morphing cube as energy source thing, and it would have worked fine as an earlier book. Well, it would have made a bit more sense since you don't have the plot hole of having the Helmacron's most powerful weapon needing a completely alien power source. Yeah, this is a filler book, but it's not a terrible one. It keeps moving forward. There are genuinely funny bits in it. There's some cool imagery, lots of neat stuff. The Helmacrons are really poorly conceived, but if this was their one appearance, I think we'd look back at them with a chuckle and then that's it. But instead, because they came back, we have the great disdain most Animorphs fans have for them now. Let it be known, this is the good Helmacron book. As sad as that is. I give Animorphs number 24, The Suspicion. What the hell did suspicion have to do with anything? I don't know. A 5 out of 10.
The ants go marching one by one, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching 2 by 2, hurrah, hurrah. The ants go marching 3 by 3, the little one stops to climb a tree. And they all go marching down to the ground to get out of the rain. Boom, boom, boom.